paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also, check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
It's not critically acclaimed, but you should check it out anyway, mindcemetery.com.
The UPRN family of shows would like to take a moment to thank our loyal listeners for tuning in to UPRNTalkRadio.com, along with 107.7 FM New Orleans, broadcasting on multiple platforms like Live 365, Ustream, and Shoutcast, has made the UPRN the longest-running, highly rated, and best source of quality, unique programming that is not afraid of the status quo in alternative media. This station has a solid course of shows and hosts that refuse to get stuck in a rut or be overrun by a groupthink mentality, because station owner, host, and ICAR founder Joe Montaldo knows the value of letting his talented stable of hosts grow uninhibited.
Back to our wonderful guest. It is a privilege to interview L.A. Marzulli as this evening's Global Newsmaker-focused guest. Tonight, Vernell and I, Patrice Sheridan speaking, will be discussing L.A. Marzulli's research, extremely popular Nephilim series volumes, the Watcher series of documentary films, and his contemporary political and prophecy research work, politics, prophecy, and the supernatural. L.A. Marzulli's websites can be found at lamarzulli.net and lamarzulli.wordpress.com. The last name is spelled Marzulli. L.A.'s latest book is Days of Chaos, very soon to be published within 3 to 4 weeks, and the related Watchers 9 series documentary video has just been released. LA also hosts every Thursday evening a popular radio program, Acceleration Radio, at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. As noted, L.A. Marzulli is an author, lecturer, and filmmaker. He has penned 8 books, including the Nephilim trilogy, which made the CBA bestsellers list. He received an honorary doctorate for the series from his mentor, Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, who was the provost at Pacific International University. His new series, On the Trail of the Nephilim, is a full-color, oversized book, which covers startling evidence that there has been a massive cover-up of what he believes are the remains of the Nephilim, the giants mentioned in the Bible. He is now working on Volume 2 in the series, which promises to have even more incredible and revealing photographs and interviews. L.A. is on the trail. L.A. Marzulli teamed up with film producer Richard Shaw to create the Watchers series. There are now 7 installments in the series. Actually, now there are 9 with the latest release, Watchers 9, just released. The documentaries have received several awards. L.A.'s research on the Torah codes, the Nephilim, Bible prophecy, and current events has been featured at conferences and churches, as well as on numerous national and international radio and television programs. Tonight's Global Newsmaker-focused discussion will feature the Torah codes, Bible prophecy and current world events, archaeological research, and the Nephilim. And for L.A.'s wonderful work, check out his website. The Nephilim Trilogy and several of L.A. Marzulli's books are available at lamarzulli.net/store, and the Torah codes, End to Darkness documentary, and the Watchers series are available also at lamarzulli.net/store. Welcome to the show, L.A. My wonderful co-host Vernell wants to welcome you as well.
Oh, great to be here. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
And Vernell, I hope you can hear us. Vernell, you're on the other line there? She'll be joining us.
Yes, I was.
Excellent.
I was just saying welcome to our program, and we're delighted that you could accommodate us this weekend. We've been really looking forward to having you as one of our guest interviews.
Well, the honor and pleasure is all mine, ladies. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, again, we're so excited. Now, L.A., you have a wonderful blog site as well, lamarzulli.wordpress.com, and you have a very interesting recent article regarding this Iran nuclear agreement. Many believe that this agreement is very, very dangerous regarding the safety of the world, Israel, and the U.S., and your recent blog article expresses your analysis of the great risks. I, too, had noted that recent article from the Times of Israel. Also, the September 9th rally in D.C. on the Capitol grounds with Senator Ted Cruz and hopefully the Donald Trump joining him will really provide a wonderful conference, a rally, and hopefully it will send strong messages to our lawmakers to stop this agreement. And, you had referenced as well in your essay the exact quote. Now, this is from the timesofisrael.com. This was an article, we reject the existence of any Israeli on this earth. Israel should be annihilated. Senior Iran aide says, and it was posted August 25th, that person's name is Sheikh Poleslam. I was going to say gentleman, but he's no gentleman. And indeed, he is quoted as saying, "We've told them that we reject the existence of any Israeli on this earth," end quote. And this was regarding negotiations with the P5+1 countries. Now, L.A., I believe you're a strong critic of this agreement, and that was a great article.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I am. I look at what's going on in the Middle East and the policies of Obama. In my opinion, with all due respect to POTUS, he is anti-American, he is pro-Islam, he is pro-Iranian, he is anti-Israel. And he has departed from, since 1948, what every president since 1948 has supported, and we have been friends to the State of Israel, which is the only democracy in that part of the world. What's interesting here, Patrice, and something that everyone should note that's listening to this broadcast, as we speak, September 4th, this is a pre-record, but as we are speaking about this, there are tens of thousands of refugees fleeing the Middle East. The simple question is this: why are they going to Europe? If everything is so great in the Islamic world, if Islam has all the answers, why are they fleeing these war-torn, crazy places and trying to go to Europe? And, my heart goes out to these people, but you don't see Saudi Arabia embracing them. Pakistan isn't inviting them in, nor is this Sudan. And this is the problem. What we see is radical Islam. We see ISIL just this week hanging three, I think they were from Iran or Iraq. I think they were Iraq. I'm sorry, they were from Iraq. And they were captured prisoners, and they shackled them with their hands and feet. Basically, that's hog-tying them, hoisted them up, and burned them alive. And this type of barbaric atrocity has to stop. And yet, our president is off in Alaska renaming mountains. I mean, what can I tell you? What can I tell you? The country has right now 92 million people out of the workforce, and the numbers are manipulated. The media is in the tank. We are trillions of dollars in debt. I've never seen it like this. In my opinion, we are in a very precipitous position. These are the days of chaos. When we look at the wars and rumors of wars, the earthquakes, the troublesome times, the idea of a one world government, a new world order, the ongoing Fukushima disaster, the coming financial collapse, when you see with the whole currency markets being manipulated by China, we see the rise of lawlessness almost on a daily basis. Someone just pulls up and just blows somebody away. The ongoing fish and animal die-offs. Last weekend, 50 whales beached themselves up in Alaska. The 1 billion abortions done globally, and now we see Planned Parenthood trying to sell body parts. I'll never forget the woman from Planned Parenthood, sipping her wine and crunching on her salad while she's talking about the sale of human body parts. You can say whatever you want about it. If people actually saw a video on what happens in an abortion, I think most people would change their mind on what they're doing. You're killing a child is what you're doing. Then we got the UFO phenomenon, which is ongoing. We've got the so-called Marian apparitions. One of the one that has startled me, of course, was in 2009 at a Coptic church over Egypt, where this apparition appeared for weeks on end, literally. The mayor was so freaked out, he had all the electricity turned off to make sure it wasn't a hoax. Muslim Christians got together. They're all clapping hands. It's not the Mary of the Bible. These were 4 blobs of light over the Coptic church, but it's dressed up in this sort of religiosity. No one's rebuking what they're seeing there. They're just embracing it. Even the elect would be deceived. A 2,000-year-old prophecy. The rise of the super volcano. There's talk about what's happening in Yellowstone, the Bardabunga supervolcano in Iceland. There's another one down in South America. I mean, are you kidding me? If just one of these things goes off, it's a game changer. It's like every 30 seconds a child dies from famine. It is what I'm looking at. And, of course, on top of all this is the global rise of anti-Semitism. And anti-Semitism has a spiritual component to it because it makes no sense at all. It makes no sense on why people get up, why the Iranians want to destroy Israel. It makes absolutely no sense. So these are the days of chaos. That's what Watchers 9 is about. That's what, of course, the new book is about, Days of Chaos.
Boy, I can't wait to read the book and to view that video. Now, regarding questions on Israel here, now, July 5th, the Times of Israel staff had an article posted. It was entitled, Minister Calls for Third Temple to be Built, a potentially explosive statement by Jewish Homes. Uri Ariel breaks taboo against damaging a status quo on Temple Mount. It was posted July 5th. Now, the article, so citing directly the first sentence, a government minister from a nationalist religious party called Thursday for the Jewish temple to be rebuilt on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, end quote. And that statement was from Minister Uri Ariel. Of course, now there have been announcements regarding the red heifer. And, you know, regarding that Temple Mount, we recently had some Arizona lawmakers over there on they were meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and on a fact-finding mission there. And indeed, and to show support, they were accosted there, right at the Temple Mount. People were threatening and harassing them for being there because they weren't Arab.
What we see in prophetic literature is that, in my opinion, that the third temple will be rebuilt. And this is just a phenomenon which is going to happen. It's prophetic literature. It's found in the Tanakh, specifically in the book of Daniel. It's also alluded to in the book of Revelation and in the last book of the Christian Bible, of course, the one I hold dearly to. But what we see is that in AD 70, the Romans came in and destroyed the temple. And they tore down basically every stone that was there. In fact, they reconstructed what is there now. The Temple Mount that is there, it's a 40-acre complex. No one actually knows where the actual temple stood. There's a lot of speculation. Different people have different views on it. There's at least 3 different views of where the temple could have been. There's also a prophecy, Chuck Missler's talked about this, which is very interesting, which talks about that there may be a wall erected between the structure that is on the Temple Mount now, specifically the Dome of the Rock, and the new temple. This would fulfill the prophetic literature, which talks about the outer court is defiled. And of course, having a mosque there would from a Jewish standpoint, that would defile the outer court. So, you know, maybe something like that might happen. Who knows? Lots of speculation. The third temple will be rebuilt. The person to watch for this, of course, is the King Abdullah II of Jordan, because he controls the Waqf. He controls the holy sites of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem. Of course, added to this, you see ISIS, wanting to establish a caliphate in the Middle East. You also see the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood, which has once again gone underground as their candidate, Mohammed Morsi, was deposed by the Egyptian army. And what we see over there is alarming, because the Muslim Brotherhood is still there, still exists, and they want to. I've got a clip I show at conferences of this fiery imam by the last name of Higazi, stating unequivocally that the capital of the United Arab States will not be Mecca or Medina, the capital, or Cairo, the capital of the newly created Arab states, United Arab States, will be Jerusalem. Al-Quds, that's the Arabic name for it, Al-Quds. And, of course, that is at loggerheads with Israel. Israel, as Benjamin Netanyahu stated, is the eternal capital of Israel, and that's how it's going to be. There's something within Christian circles that I need to address here, and that is supersessionism, or what is known as replacements theology. And those who espouse this view or embrace that particular view usually hold an amillennial view. In other words, they believe that this is the kingdom of heaven on earth, and we need to take the kingdom back before Yeshua can return. And I just don't believe that. I think it's absolute nonsense. I hold to a premillennial view of Scripture, and I am also a biblical literalist. So the fact that Israel is regathered into its ancient homeland and established as a nation in 1948 fulfills a myriad of prophetic literature, a myriad of prophecies that have been collecting dust for well over 2,000 years. And now we see them fulfilled in our lifetime, basically, which is absolutely astounding. We are in the window of time unlike any other on this planet. And this is why Watchers 9 says Days of Chaos. This is why the book is Days of Chaos. Look, we see the racial tension in America. I've never seen it like this since the riots in the 60s. I mean, it's absolutely off the hook. It wasn't like this before Obama took office. Now, we can all put the blame at Obama's feet, but the bottom line is this tension is incredibly real. There has been atrocities and breaches of etiquette, for lack of a better word, on both the black community, of course, and the police force. It goes hand in hand. There's a clip that that my friend and co-producer of the Watcher series, Richard Shaw, sent me, and this police guy pulls over, this traffic cop, sheriff guy, whatever, pulls over a black guy and wants to see his license. And he does so because the guy's not wearing a seatbelt. Well, we all know that if you don't wear a seatbelt, you're going to get pulled over. Whether you're white, black, green, or blue, it doesn't matter. You're going to get pulled over. If a cop sees that you're not wearing a seatbelt, that is probable cause. He has a right to pull you over. The problem is the guy goes into his car, right? He's standing outside his car, and the cop asks him for his license. Well, his license is in his wallet, which is on the front seat. But the cop doesn't know that. And this man goes in, you see him bend over, reach in, and he comes out, and the cop just opened fire. And is it overreaction? Some people would say yes, it is. He might have waited another split second. The bottom line, these guys are trained. When someone does something like that, they are opening the door. The cop has no idea whether this guy's pulling out a sawed-off shotgun and he's dead. He has no idea. And I've been in situations, let me just tell you a quick story. Years ago, driving down Pacific Coast Highway, had a tail light out, I guess. And so the cop pulled behind me, red lights were on. I pulled over to the side of the road. I got out of my vehicle, and I started walking to the police car. Mistake number one. Mistake number two, I reached into my back pocket to pull my wallet out. Patrice, both of these guys went for their guns. And when I showed them the wallet, they just shook their head. The guy came out and he said, "You can't do this. You can't do this. First of all, you stay in your car and you don't get out. You keep your hands on the wheel. Second of all, you never, ever reach anywhere like you just did, because we're trained. We don't know what you've got in your back pocket. What if you pull out a 9mm and start shooting through the window? We're dead, and we'll never live to tell about it." That's how they're trained. So while some of these incidents appear incredibly egregious, and I get that, there's one clip where a cop elbows the back of some guy's neck who's being held by 3 or 4 other people. And we don't know what happened before then. Is the guy high on crack or something? We just don't know. So, all these videos need to be really examined from start to finish, not just cherry-picking the 5 seconds where there's an abuse that goes on. On the other hand, a cop was killed execution style over the weekend. So it's on both sides. The racial tension here is through the roof. And look, all we know is, like, you look at Katrina and you see that there's a very thin layer of civility, of civilization. There's a modicum of people acting kind to each other. But that's a very, very thin veneer of civilization. And we see what happens when anything like Katrina happens, Black Friday, when the stampedes go to Walmarts, and people will kill for a $12 toaster. So we see that it doesn't take much to tip the scale. And, what happens if, let's say, just as something that we cover in Watchers 9, which is just fascinating. California is in a 7-year drought. What most people don't understand is that the Colorado River services a lot of the water in the Colorado River services 3 or 4 different states. Okay, there are also 2 hydroelectric dams on that river. The water levels have dropped so severely that if we do not get rain this year, those hydroelectric plants may cease to function. Patrice, that affects 40 million people. 40 million people. Let's extrapolate. It's a cascading event. Farmers can't grow crops. Food prices go through the roof. There's no water. Cities are abandoned. I mean, it could get very apocalyptic very soon. This is what we're facing.
You know, it definitely is a time to read such interesting books and informative books as yours. Also, to get out that Bible, read it, and have that friend in Christ. You know, I was amazed by your Torah Codes Into Darkness. I've been watching clips of it. And again, it's the Torah Codes Into Darkness series. Actually, I hadn't realized this, that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's popularity was reconfirmed by his landslide re-election last March, but it's actually mentioned in the Torah Codes, and you and Richard Shaw are describing the wonderful research that rabbi scholars in Israel, some based in Jerusalem, are doing on the Torah Codes.
Well, the person to get on this is really Rick. I mean, I just do sort of like one interview, a cameo. That was Richard's production. That's been in the works for him for at least 7 years. And he produced it and directed it, and he basically narrates it. And if you want, I can send you his email, and you can shoot him an email. He'd love to come on and talk about it. He is the go-to guy for Torah Codes.
Well, thank you. It was a wonderful, I would highly recommend it to our listeners, as I would your other books. Very, very well done. Now, L.A., do you believe that the lost tribes will be restored to Israel?
Well, that's very, very interesting, and that's a very interesting, and it's also a very loaded question.
Controversial it is, because some people think that some of the tribes are actually over in England and America.
Right, right, and we just don't know what happened to them. What's interesting is that in the last 2,000 years after the diaspora, after Titus and Titus the Roman general came down in AD 70, and basically after a 3-year siege of Jerusalem, decimated the city. I mean, millions of people were slaughtered in that city. It was just disgusting what happened. The temple was razed and the Jews were sent off into captivity. This started a diaspora. What most people don't understand and don't realize is that the entire Middle East had long-standing Jewish communities for thousands of years. Jews fled to Syria. They fled to Iraq, Iran even, and entire Jewish communities were there. Jordan, for instance. And then when Israel became a state, many of those Jewish communities, which had been in existence for thousands of years since AD 70, went to Israel. So that's why when Iran says there's no Jews there anymore, many of them just fled the country because they realized, they saw the handwriting on the wall. Same thing with the Jews in Germany. So there's also a movement afoot that are trying to say that these are not the real Jews that are in Israel. And of course, I completely disagree with that. Hitler had no problem figuring out who the Jews were. If these aren't the Jews, then where are they? And of course, it's a straw man argument. I mean, somebody stands up and says, these aren't the Jews. Well, I can say that Adolf Hitler's alive and well in South America. I mean, you can say anything. But these ideas, because of the rise of anti-Semitism, this idea that these aren't the real Jews, these are the Khazarians, has taken hold. And actually, many Christian churches and many good people actually believe that. They haven't done their homework. They don't know what they're talking about. They'll cite things like the Protocols of Zion, which has been proven endless times to be nothing but a forgery. And as I stated earlier, the Jews inhabited the Middle East, not only in Europe, but they were in the Middle East with an unbroken presence in these countries, like I mentioned, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, basically all through which was the Ottoman Empire for almost 2,000 years. There was an ongoing Jewish presence in the area. So to say that these people just suddenly show up and that the Khazarians, actually are in Europe and all this other stuff is just a bunch of nonsense. Plus, the recent DNA testing had proven that these are the sons of Abraham. I mean, that's who was there. What's interesting is if those who hold to this anti-Semitic view often also hold to an amillennial view. In other words, they don't believe in prophetic literature. They don't look at Israel as being anything special. And, of course, the problem with this is Israel, the promises that were given to Israel have not been broken. Father God has not, rescinded on those promises. They are still there. They are still in force. And this is why, just like we see in prophetic literature, the Jews have been gathered back into their ancient homeland, never to be removed again. That statement is also there. Never to be removed again. So the Iranians do a lot of saber rattling. They talk about the annihilation of Israel. Good luck is all I have to say. And they would do well to study the Six-Day War and the six major conflicts that Israel has been involved in. Israel knows what's at stake. They know what they have to do. Their army is one of the finest in the region. And the difference is their lives are on the line. And their children's lives and their wives and their parents' lives are on the line. So they take their responsibility very, very seriously. And Iran should read the prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and 39 and understand and also read Psalm 83. And the Syrians should read Isaiah 17. These are prophecies which are thousands of years old, and yet they are applicable in the days that we are living in these days of chaos.
Beautifully said. And, L.A., thank you for clarifying that point for me. I know I've read about the achievements of the Ashkenazic Jews, also the Sephardic Jews. Really, that clarifies a great deal for me. Now, L.A., a fine pastor, Perry Stone, in an interview with another excellent pastor, Sid Roth, a Messianic pastor, mentioned that at this time, in this current era, Israel would make tremendous medical advances and begin leading the world in various specialties. Also, there's discussion of tremendous natural gas discoveries in Israel. She's soon to become even more powerful, a world leader. Have you heard anything about this? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Maybe you should try to rephrase that one.
Do you think that Israel will really be leading the world? Of course, we believe that Christ is going to come back, Jesus will come back, Yeshua, and rule from Jerusalem. But do you think as well that it's just going to not exponentially, but continuous expertise and be a world leader in technology, medicine, and other fields, as is the United States?
Well, it already is. In fact, I'm trying to get this one website up here. I can't find it. Hold on, let me see. We know that what's really interesting is that Israel has received a disproportionate amount of Nobel prizes for their work in the sciences and medicine and other in other fields. And it's amazing why Muslims talk about how great Islam is. I think they've gotten two. It's amazing because what we see here is that Islam has millions and millions, basically 1.4 billion people, and yet we see what they do, and there is such a thing called political Islam because that's really what it is. It's a political movement. They call it a religion, but it's a political movement. It's a political ideology, which is absolute loggerheads with Western thought. I mean, there is no doubt about this. And what we see here is that, I'm getting to it now, I think. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. In 2007, Islam and Judaism holiest holidays overlapped for 10 days. Muslim racked up 397 dead bodies and 94 terror attacks across 10 countries during this time. The Jews work on their 159th Nobel Prize. And this is what we get here. We see there's a disparity. There's an absolute disparity between where Israel, L'chaim, to life, and what we see throughout the Islam world basically says the absolute opposite of that, to death. There's a shot I show, again, talking about Higazi, this fiery imam from the Muslim Brotherhood, during the elections when Mohammed Morsi was elected. And he's saying, there's a song that they sing, "We are all martyrs. To Jerusalem we go, martyrs in the millions." I mean, this is what they chant. This is what Americans need to see. I mean, how do you sit with people who gather in Tahrir Square and chant by the hundreds of thousands, "To Jerusalem we go, martyrs in the millions"? I mean, how do you deal with that? I'm looking at a picture from the Religion of Peace website, and this atrocity happened in Iraq, where ISIL came in just like the Nazis. They dug a shallow grave. They had all these guys line up, and they just shot them in the head. They just machine gunned them. This is genocide. We're looking at it, and this is Muslim against Muslim. This is Sunni against Shia, or the branch of Islam that ISIS holds to is so severe that anybody who doesn't kowtow to it just gets burned alive or thrown in a trench and shot, just like what was happening in the Third Reich. This is where we are. These are the days of chaos. If this isn't chaotic, people need to wake up, except most Americans are so inundated, they're asleep. I call them matrix people because they walk around in this stupor. I saw a license plate today, Bruins. Go Bruins. I think they're UCLA football or something. To think about it, for a guy to put that on his license plate, Bruins. He's all about the Bruins. That's his whole deal. He's going to watch football. He's got a box. He's going to go to the game. And he might be a really nice guy. He's a matrix person, in my opinion. Patrice, we are living in such tenuous, tumultuous times where a woman is jailed today. Kim Davis is jailed yesterday for refusing to allow gays to marry, for refusing to sign the paper that will allow gays to marry in the state of Kentucky. 5 people on the Supreme Court decide this is going to be the law of the land. We are living in such an anti-Christian environment, I can't even believe it. And so push is going to come to shove because the church is not going to lay down. They just won't. I just know it won't. And already there's being pushback. Huckabee has stood up. Senator Ted Cruz has stood up. Unfortunately, the Donald has not stood up. The Donald said we should obey the law of the land. Well, Donald, I disagree with you, sir. The American Revolution, with all due respect, the American Revolution was fought because people were tired of taxation without representation. And yet that's exactly what we have in this country today. Taxation without representation. And when 5 people in the Supreme Court can completely overturn the will of the people, that's not democracy. That's totalitarianism. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at this stuff is being ramrodded down our throat. It becomes the law of the land. So what is a woman who has Christian beliefs going to do? Is she going to allow gays to marry she either has to quit her job or go to jail, and she's gone to jail. I signed the petition today, and I know that many people are pushing back. It's time to push back. This is tyrannical. This is soft tyranny. We are taxed to death in this country, and it wasn't like that before 1913. People could accumulate wealth. They had a chance to prosper. Today, anyone who's a small businessman, I am a small businessman, Patrice. I made some money in 2013. It was taken from me. The federal government took my profit. So I had to borrow money this year, not to keep the business running, but I didn't have the working capital that I would have had I not paid an onerous amount of taxes to the federal government. Where does it all go? Well, we're still over in Afghanistan. We've been over there for 14 years. Meanwhile, in 2014, last year, the opium harvest set all records, broke all records. What will it be this year? $1 trillion opium harvest in 2014. Where does that money go, Patrice? Who profits from that money? Why are there over 800 military bases run in the United States globally? Why do we have that? I mean, we are extended so far. We are trillions of dollars in debt. There is so much unrest here at home. I've never seen anything like it. And yet these Matrix people just pretend like it's all okay. What are the Kardashians going to do? I wonder what Bruce Jenner's sex change is up to now. I mean, we get every nuance about Bruce Jenner's sex change, but we hardly get anything about what's going on in Fukushima. We don't get anything about the atrocities that are happening in the Middle East, specifically in Syria, where thousands, tens of thousands of people have been brutally murdered and tortured under this crazy civil war that's going on. We don't have to do squat about it. All we know is this deal is good. We want to let the Iranians get the bomb. You know what? If the Iranians, I believe the Iranians already have the bomb, and the regime that's there has two enemies: the great Satan, which is the United States, and the little Satan, which is Israel. If they have one bomb, they will use it against us. I believe it will be an EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon. It will be set over the heartland. It will bomb us back basically into the Stone Age. Electromagnetic pulse weapon, and we talk about this in Watchers 9, Patrice. We interviewed Brooks Agnew, Dr. Brooks Agnew, who talks about electromagnetic pulse weapons, and I blogged about it numerous times. It's also in my book, The Days of Chaos, because it's coming. Troublesome times. An EMP, are you kidding me? You get an EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon, that's detonated over, let's say, Oklahoma City. It'll completely wipe out all the grid that we know it. The grid that keeps everything working in this country will not work anymore. This is what's coming. You get an EMP in this country, and you will have millions of people die within the first 15 days, the old and the young. Hospitals go down, no cars, no gas, everything in your refrigerator rots in 3 or 4 days. If you live in the South and you're dependent on air conditioner, you're back in pre-industrial revolution time, which is around 1850, right? 1860, right after the Civil War. Yeah. That's when everything changed. That's what we're looking at here. I mean, everything changes. Your toaster doesn't work. Your car doesn't start. The air conditioning doesn't come on. Your cell phone is gone. No telephone service. There's not one light bulb in your house that you can turn on. This is what we're looking at. And this is why people need to stockpile 4 to 6 months worth of food and water. It's just, you want to depend on the federal government? Are you crazy? All chaos will ensue. The Iranians know that. And it would not, and because their ideology, because they hold to a Shia brand of Islam, they know that in their belief system, in order to have the Imam Mahdi come back, the Mahdi come back, they must usher in a time of chaos. They even say it. They even talk about it. We must usher in a time of chaos, the Mahdi to come back. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. And yet, the Matrix people go on like I've got two heads when I start talking about this stuff. The people that are caught up in the Matrix, oh, it's all okay. Hey, Labor Day. Come on, L.A., lighten up, man. 3-day weekend. Get the barbecue fired up. Invite some friends over. You know, it's a nice six-pack. Watch a game. You know, good ball game. End of the season. World Series is coming up. Football season starting soon. Gee, I wonder if Tebow will be hired by the Eagles. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Meanwhile, the whole planet literally is seething. Now, people don't choose to see that. I call it cognitive dissonance. We're now on the 14th year of 9/11. And yet, when you tell people that there are 1,500, there's a whole section, by the way, on the a Luciferian Conspiracy, 9/11, a Luciferian Conspiracy, Chapter 19, in my book, The Days of Chaos. When you talk about this and you talk about the Twin Towers, people give you the conspiratology. Here we go. Tinfoil hat crowd. What they don't understand, and it's a very deadly combination, ignorance and arrogance, they don't understand that 1,500, well over 1,500 architects and engineers have banded together and called on Congress to open up an independent study of the events of 9/11 because they know buildings do not collapse at free fall speed. They do not disintegrate in midair while they are falling. It's a physical impossibility. And when we look at the events of 9/11, specifically focusing on what happened in Building 7, a 42-story building collapsing at free fall speed, Patrice, and it's not hit by a plane, and it's been burning for a few hours. It's an impossibility. That thing was pulled, just like the owner said. Well, we decided to pull it. That's code talk for a controlled demolition. Something happened on that day. It was dressed up, and from that we got the Patriot Act, and then we also got Homeland Security, we got TSA, and they suspended our rights of habeas corpus. The Obama administration or anyone else can arrest anyone for anything without probable cause. That reverses what we fought the American Revolution for. That's habeas corpus. And they can do. Are they doing it now? No, they're not. But they can do it. And then we got Jade Helm, which once again Brooks Agnew addressed in our upcoming film, Days of Chaos, Watchers 9. The barbed wire around the Walmarts, what are they preparing for? Do they know something is coming and they're preparing for it? I mean, why is it that during 9/11, everything Cheney had everybody stand down? They didn't scramble one F-50 or F-16 rather. They didn't scramble any fighters. They could have intercepted the planes. Orders were told to stand down. Why is it when Benghazi happened, from the highest echelons of our government, the Marines and the choppers that were ready to go, the Marines and the jets and whatever that were ready to go and stop what was going on in Benghazi, were told to stand down. They were told to stand down. And our ambassador was brutally tortured and sodomized for hours before they finally killed him.
Completely horrific. And L.A., I don't remember the details here, but I believe that tremendously, very high up people in the military, an admiral, and I believe a general, actually lost their positions because they wanted to come right away to the aid of the ambassador there and the others. I wish I had that link with me right now to mention something on that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tragic where we are in this country. It's tragic what's going on a global level. The interesting thing is, Yeshua stated 2,000 years ago that before his return, and this is an absurd statement to make, and it's done with great specificity. He gives a laundry list. He gives you a list of items to look for that will preclude, or act as a prelude, I should say, for his arrival, his return. And they are wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, troublesome times. One of the more startling ones is those who will come in my name and claim that I am the Messiah. I mean, what an absurd statement to make 2,000 years ago, and yet we see today in modernity numerous false Christs, those who say that they are the return of Yeshua. I mean, it is. I'm not making this stuff up. It is absolutely true.
It is occurring, L.A., beautifully expressed. Would you actually say to our listeners now that we are indeed in the end times?
Well, these are the last days, in my opinion. These are the end times. We are not in the time of Jacob's trouble, the 7-year tribulation period. However, we are rapidly moving towards that. There's no doubt in my mind that's where we're headed. And I find that alarming. I find it sobering. I find it very telling. I also believe it points back to the veracity of the biblical narrative. There's no other book on this planet which talks about the type of events that we're seeing now and call it out a priori with great specificity. It's just, there's nothing else like it. And for the students of the Bible, of the biblical narrative, those of us who have tracked these signs, those of us who have traveled in the biblical narrative and studied it and looked at it over the years, all of us, everybody I know, is looking at this month, September, and are we holding our collective breaths? No, but we're very keenly aware of everything that's happening. CERN's going to be opened up. Will that open up an interdimensional portal? Why is the god Shiva standing outside CERN, the god of destruction? Why is it that they can put Kali on the Empire State Building, but they can't put a picture of the cross? Why can we have demonic occult antics like we see in Madonna at the Super Bowl, but we can't have a Christian artist or anything? Oh, we got separation of church and state. Yet we'll have blatant occult activity in both the Grammys, occult spectacles in both the Grammys and the Super Bowl, year after year after year. The last one with Katy Perry was a blatant occult demonstration, and Perry comes riding out on a lion. That's Ishtar, because those symbols of Ishtar riding a lion, and Ishtar riding a star at the end, where Katy Perry did that, this is all Ishtar. This is a woman rides a beast. This is where we are, and it's just right there. And then we see Madonna this September, opening at Madison Square Garden. The desecration of the bride. That's right in your face. The desecration of the bride. That's her new show. And then the Pope will be speaking. What the heck is he doing over here? What are we looking at? What's going on? We've got the blood moons happening. We've got the Shemitah year happening. We already saw, in my opinion, perhaps a harbinger of what the Shemitah may bring soon, because the stock market fell 1,000 points and then sort of rebounded in 2 days. What will China do? Look, everything is extremely tenuous right now. extremely tenuous. And you got to be, in my opinion, you just got to be a matrix person. You just got to be walking through this place asleep and with your eyes wide shut, and not to be able to see what is happening. Because look, what are we going to do with Fukushima? Right now, they say it's contained, but it's not. Millions of gallons of radioactive waste pour into the Pacific Ocean day after day. Is this why the whales are bleaching themselves? Is this why all the mystery of the sea lions all up and down the West Coast? This is what we're looking at? And you can't get a straight answer out of anybody. Same thing with the volcanic activity. I've called USGS. Oh, the volcanic activity and earthquakes, everything's just fine, LA. No, we look at it, and there's a rise of both volcanic activity and the earthquake activity. We talk about this in Watchers 9. We interviewed a man by the name of Alvin who heads the Extinction Protocol. It's an incredible website. This man spoke with great erudition, and he really knows his stuff. And all that's in Watchers 9. I talk about also, the volcanic activity in Days of Chaos in the book. It's beyond the pale, Patrice. I'll be 65 in December, and I've never seen it like this. I've never seen the tension that is happening now. And people need to wake up and understand the times that we're living in.
I very much agree with you. And LA, because the world is in such a serious situation, do you think that you could advise our listeners of the importance of the Bible and having a personal relationship with Christ?
Well, I mean, this is paramount unless a person understands. I've been saying lately, if you think you know Yeshua, if you think you know Yeshua HaMashiach, which translates down to Jesus the Messiah, if you think you know him, but you don't know him, you don't know him. I'll say it again. If you think you know him, but you don't know him, you don't know him. I can't say it any plainer than that. People think they know who he is. They think they equate it with going to Catholic school or being in a church or being, watching some of the hucksters on Christian TV asking for money all the time. That's not who he is. Not who he is. He is the Prince of Peace. First of all, he is the Prince of Peace. He is the return of the King. He is the rightful King. He is the one who will come riding in on the white horse at the end of this particular system and put down finally the system that has enslaved humankind for thousands of years, since the garden. A personal relationship with Yeshua is paramount, because when a person comes to him, they can become reconnected with the real God. And of course, Yeshua is the real God. And so when a person realizes that two things, that the blood sacrifice that Yeshua performed on Calvary was for that person's sin, all the little nasties that we do and think, all that stuff was paid, the price was paid on Calvary. And when we ask him into our heart, in the privacy of our own room, or we can do it with a friend, whatever, the Spirit of a living God will come into that person, and their lives will change. It happened to me 35 years ago, Patrice. I was a drug-taking, fornicating, guru-worshipping, occult-practicing pagan. That's who I was 35 years ago. And I didn't really know who Yeshua was. I thought I knew who he was, but I didn't know him. And when I asked him in, everything changed. My entire life changed. And that's all I can tell you. And it's changed for the better. And I'm an ambassador of the kingdom. That's all I do is talk about him and his return, which I believe is imminent. And we are in a cosmic war. And this is what most people don't understand. We are in a cosmic war between two sides. The Most High God, El Elyon, and the fallen cherub. There was a rebellion in the heavenlies that happened who knows how long ago. In my opinion, thousands of years ago. And they have been at war with each other ever since. The fallen cherub holds sway over this planet. Even though Yeshua took back the kingdom at Calvary almost 2,000 years ago, the fallen one still holds sway. He still is what is called the prince of the power of the air. He is the ruler of this world and over this present darkness. He is. He's the ruler over it. And we see it manifesting in ways that I've never Like we just spent 45 minutes talking about it. I don't need to belabor it and go over it. But it's manifesting. And it will culminate, just like prophecy tells us in the biblical narrative, it will culminate on the battle of Armageddon, that most people know about. And the kings of the earth will not fight each other. They will assemble, and their weapons will turn to the rider on the white horse and the armies of heaven, which are descending onto planet Earth. And when Yeshua returns, he will destroy the fallen cherub by the breath of his coming. Now, don't ask me how that works, but we know that he spoke all things into existence. All things into existence. We're looking at a cosmic chess match, which is the title of one of my books, which is being played out in another dimension, and we're seeing it now spill out over into ours. And Patrice, it's only going to get worse. We are ramping up to the time of Jacob's trouble. All the birth pangs that I've been talking about for the last 45 minutes are signs of the birth pains. And we know that Yeshua tells us, when you see these things, look up, because your redemption is coming. I am coming back. I am returning. Look up. Be expectant. How many people on the earth are looking up right now? How many folks are expectant? I know I am. I'm going, man, this could be it. Even so, return. Come Yeshua. We're ready. There's a remnant that it's expectant, that are waiting, because you're not going to fix this system, Patrice. You're not. The only way out of this thing may be up. All the good intentions of all the politicians all over the globe, there's no way you're going to change Kim Jong-un. There's no way you're going to change al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIL. There's no way you're going to change, there's no way you're going to change Khomeini in Iran. There's no way. There's no way you're going to change the racial tension in this country. There's no way. We're at an impasse. And I know it sounds bleak, it sounds dark. Prophetic literature tells us this is precisely what we will see before that 7-year tribulation period. We will see wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, troublesome times, and false messiahs. That's exactly, check, go right down the scorecard.
Very powerful words, L.A., and when you think of ISIL and other groups really advocating the global Islamic Caliphate, they're waiting for their Mahdi. They're trying to really engage the United States in a major battle over there. The Iranians very much are awaiting their Mahdi, and I should say the Iranian authority leadership. At this time, I don't know if this question is leading. I don't want to introduce a leading question. Do you think of the possibility of a rapture before pre-trib, or no? I'm sorry, pre-trib rapture.
Yeah, I do. That's the position I hold on to. It's like, I know a lot of people want to argue that, but I just believe staunchly in a pre-trib rapture. I think that we're out of here. We may be out of here in September, the way things are going. Nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me. I'm not a date setter. I'm not saying that, we're going to be out of here in September. But I got to tell you, how many people are really looking for it? Patrice, how many people are expectant and are waiting? Not many. It really isn't. Out of 7 billion people on the planet, it's not many. It's probably I'm going to guess maybe 200 million globally. Maybe that many. Maybe that's not that many people. It sounds like a lot, but when you consider 7 billion people on the planet, it's not. It's a handful, just a handful, that are actually waiting and looking and are expectant. Just a handful.
L.A., I don't know if this really is imposing on you, but is there a very quick prayer you could say with the listeners, or just a formula of how to admit Christ into their life?
Sure. It's so simple. A caveman can do it, to quote a popular commercial. But if it was any more complex, we couldn't. The first thing we need to do is realize that all of us, have screwed up. There's hatred in our heart. We've been angry at someone. There's bitterness. There's lust. There's avarice. You can just go down the line. We've lied. We've stolen. We've fudged the numbers. We've had We've had bad thoughts about people that we're supposed to like. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We yell at our wives or our children. All that is the human condition. And it shows our depravity. Now, we dress it up in three-piece suits and fancy cars and six-bedroom homes with manicured lawns. But behind those walls of those houses and behind the pristine lawns and the Mercedes-Benz and everything else, everyone I've ever met has a thread of depravity in their life, is broken on some level. And this is why he came. Because the plight of mankind is this, that we are steeped in we're steeped in sin. The Bible calls everything I listed sin. That's what it's called. It's an umbrella. And it encompasses the depravity of the human heart. Look at ISIL. Look at Syria. Just look at the tension in this country. And we can see that all of it comes down to the depravity of mankind's heart. That's where we are. And so knowing that we have fallen and we are in a fallen state, when we realize that someone was sent for us and that someone was Yeshua HaMashiach, and he fulfilled hundreds of prophecies at his first coming, hundreds of prophecies, and that his death on Calvary and the blood that he shed put an end to the fallen one's reign, the fallen cherub, Satan's reign. And by believing on him who was sent, Yeshua, and by asking forgiveness of all the little nasty stuff we do, we have eternal life. It's as simple as that. We believe on him who was sent, and we call him Messiah, and we ask him to come into our heart and cleanse us of our sin and give us a new life. And what we get in return is peace that passes understanding, and we get eternal life. Eternal life, not some crazy vampire nonsense. Real eternal life. And we know that because we have a prototype, the God-man Yeshua. When he was resurrected and he appeared to over 500 people and all of his disciples and everything else, he was in a different kind of a body, a glorified body. And you say, L.A., that just sounds absolutely wacko. It is. It's beyond science fiction. But that's the truth. I believe it, and that's where we're all headed.
Thank you. Very, very much appreciate it. Now, L.A., in the last 10 minutes, would you have any further words to give to our audience regarding the current days of chaos and also the importance of seeking God's direction, of course, both for our lawmakers to do this, but also the citizens, and comments you might have on the contemporary scene now?
Patrice, you broke up at the end there. What was that last part?
Comments on the contemporary scene now. How to remember focused on what is really of great substance and eternal.
Well, I mean, the thing is this. We're up to our eyeballs in what's going on. And we need to understand that the mystery of iniquity, the secret of lawlessness, which was written in the biblical narrative almost 2,000 years ago, has been fully operational, has never ceased to stop. And its end game is to seat the Antichrist, the anti-Messiah, in the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem to be worshipped as God. That's where all this is heading. And this is why it's important to choose, which side you're on. Really, which side are you on? Are you going to be on the side of the Messiah, or are you going to be on the side of a new world order? And that's what's at stake, Patrice. That's where we are. That's what it's coming down to. You can't sit on the fence anymore.
Thank you so much, L.A. Now, we so appreciate your speaking with us this evening. Very, very extremely important points made. Again, I want to remind our audience of LA's websites, lamarzulli.net and lamarzulli.wordpress.com. And before I close the show, Vernell,
yes.
Are still aligned with us. Dear, please make some comments. I'm at a loss for words. I'm very impressed.
Well, yes, thank you so much for your very passionate interview. I've been very enlightened, as I'm sure most of our audience has been as well.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And, L.A., again, this information is very, very important. Could you advise our listeners just when to expect within the next few weeks Days of Chaos and Watchers 9. I'm sure that they will be available at your website, but any new details on that?
It is www.lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net, and we've got pre-sales for both the Days of Chaos and Watchers 9. I am signing. Anyone who does the pre-sale gets an autographed copy of Days of Chaos, the book, and of course, you're saved $5. And we always do that to try to give people a chance on it. You pre-order, you're right in the queue. You know, the moment we get the DVD or the book, we send it out. And, they're not flying off the shelves, but we've got a lot of pre-orders. And that's good. People, there's a remnant that wants the material, that wants to see. And look, folks, when you watch Watchers 9, Days of Chaos, or you pick up the book, Days of Chaos, and the book, Days of Chaos, has about 450 pages in it. I mean, and I'm tracking it from 2008 to the present day. And everything is escalating. Everything is escalating. We're headed towards a very tenuous, tumultuous, unprecedented time.
Thank you, L.A., so very much for having joined us this evening. We appreciate your time, your excellent work. Thank you, Vernell, and thank you to our listeners. I hope that everyone has a wonderful Labor Day weekend, holiday weekend, and again, thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you so much, Patrice. Really, really appreciate it, and God bless you, and hope to speak to you soon.
Oh, thank you, L.A.
Bye-bye.
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 All right, you want to know the secret to getting a Ferrari or a Lamborghini like this? Drop out of college. Actually, I'm just kidding. It's going to give me a lot of